I'm going to start us off with a metaphor. So for that, let's revisit one of our favorite childhood and, let's face it, adulthood phenomenons. Legos. Legos. There we go. Legos. Really, some of the things you can do with these little pieces are truly incredible. And they're inspiring the next generation of scientists and engineers that I won't become, but that this world really needs. Really, the only disadvantage to Legos is when they're alone. That is, stray Legos. In fact, I don't think it will be too alienating to say that stepping on a Lego is one of our universally most disliked activities. So this is going to sound ridiculous, so bear with me for a moment. Close your eyes and imagine a world where stepping on Legos is necessary for your survival. Everyone must do it a few times a day, or they'll get really sick and possibly even die. Since this is such an important part of daily survival, our society comes up with countless creative ways to complete that daily task. Perhaps getting together with family to do so, or finding differently textured Legos to step on for variety's sake. All over the world, people step on Legos of many shapes, colors, and sizes. Cultures use Lego stepping as a way to express themselves. There are places where people go to from all over to step on Legos, places that are advertised as having the best Legos to step on, and even places to step on Legos on the go. Since Lego stepping is necessary for individual survival, no one can do it for you. Everyone has to do it alone. And so Lego stepping becomes one of those things that we just have to do, whether we like it or not. Now open your eyes. Okay. That's a weird metaphor. I'm sorry. You're probably all super confused and wondering where the heck I'm going with this. So take a moment and replace the Lego stepping metaphor with pretty much any other action verb you hate. Running, driving, public speaking, maybe literally watching paint dry. Yeah, sounds pretty horrible, right? Luckily for all of us, stepping on Legos is not necessary for survival. And chances are the other things you hate aren't necessary either. In fact, in our most basic level of needs, all we really need is air, water, shelter, and food. We advocate for access to clean air and clean water through environmental programs. We support programs like Habitat for Humanity that improve housing security and donate clothing to those in need. And since clothing and shelter are necessary for survival, our society goes all out. Elaborate houses, decor that isn't technically necessary for survival, and even entertainment. Just take a look at HGTV or Project Runway to see that we also enjoy seeing others fulfill their basic survival needs. And then there's food. Food, like air and water, is something environmentalists are concerned with. We advocate for better access and healthier options. And like clothing and shelter, there are countless forms of entertainment, entire social phenomena devoted to how we fulfill this need. Now imagine that any exposure to food was like knowing that you could step on a Lego at any moment. Your house is covered in Legos. They're all over your floor, but they blend into your carpet so you can't see them. Yeah, feel that anxiety? Imagine that anxiety in a world where stepping on Legos is necessary for your survival. Imagine that anxiety in a world that can't stop talking about Legos. Imagine being surrounded by something that causes you so much stress while causing others great joy and excitement. Welcome to my reality. So here's some fun irony. Here I am on the stage doing the world's second most feared activity after stepping on Legos, public speaking. And yet, off the stage, I'm challenged by one of our society's greatest comforts. Not Legos. My Legos are food. Avoidant restrictive food intake disorder is a relatively new addition to the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, identified in 2013. It can look like many things: lack of interest in food, avoidance based on sensory characteristics of food, and concern about aversive consequences of eating. But it often culminates in lack of weight gain or weight loss, significant nutritional deficiencies, reliance on nutritional supplements, and in some cases, interference with social functioning. Unlike better-known eating disorders like anorexia and bulimia, ARFID has nothing to do with body image. In fact, beyond the occasional normal self-consciousness about my face or my hair some days, I feel pretty good about my appearance. It's the food. ARFID, like many other mental disorders, has impacts on the sufferer beyond the standard symptoms. Of course, you can imagine the toll it might take on somebody to feel like they're incompetent at fulfilling a basic human need. Like, if I'm supposed to be smart, why can't I eat like a normal person? And so you begin to feel like you're a failure, and worse yet, like you're a burden on everyone around you. After all, you're just stubborn and annoying, choosing to be this way. And then there's social interaction. Food is such a social phenomenon, and it's how many people connect. But if you enter a situation already alienated and uncomfortable by the thing that's supposed to bring everyone together, it can be hard to feel like you're a part of that group. Even if you are an important contributor to that group, a well-liked person, you may always feel like you're missing out on something important, like you're not understanding a key piece of the conversation. For me, there are friendships, parties, field trips, opportunities I've missed out on because the stress of food was just too much. There's so many places I'll never get to go and things I'll never get to see because I can't trust myself to eat sufficiently everywhere. Nobody has to tell me I'm missing out. I already know. Food is just this great human secret that I'm not a part of. Now, I've got ARFID, and I've got it bad. But there are different variations of bad depending on the individual. Unsafe foods can be found unsafe for a variety of reasons. Texture, taste, smell, color, temperature, food group, general appearance, and when trying to eat an unsafe food, the sufferer may end up gagging, choking, or vomiting. Meanwhile, safe foods are safe for reasons that no one, not even the person with ARFID, can understand. I find that for myself, it's not about availability, quality, or even how normal the food is considered. For me, it's usually about familiarity. New restaurants and new brands are unsafe because I don't know what to expect. Chances are the cheeseburger at a nice restaurant is normal, good, and probably even better quality than my safe McDonald's cheeseburger. But there's always the element of surprise at play. The new cheeseburger could have a different texture, an unusual seasoning, or a different color of cheese, and any combination of those things is enough to make alarm bells go off in my head. It's easier, safer, to go with what I know. Of course, familiarity isn't always the deciding factor. I've seen grilled chicken and chicken wings my whole life, but have never been able to bring myself to try them, and that's considered a pretty standard meal for many people. I've also never had turkey or applesauce. I can't stand mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, most other forms of potatoes, and a few weeks ago, I tried milk for the first time, and it did not go well. Meanwhile, I eat and enjoy things like frozen peas and radishes, things that most people around me wouldn't dare try. People with ARFID have a wide variety of influences to their social functioning as well. Like I said, I may have missed out on certain friendships. I may have been prevented from fitting in with certain groups, but I am lucky to have so many friends, family, in-laws, coworkers, and professors who are understanding of my situation and willing to help. Sadly, others with ARFID have trouble dating, making it through a school day, fitting in at work or school. And of course, many of us, myself included, struggle with the constant issue of explaining ourselves to other people for the way that we eat. And none of this is even including the many physical complications of ARFID, which can be as severe as reliance on a feeding tube. So that's my story, my disorder. That's ARFID. But an important part of my story is that I lived with this disorder for most of my life without any sort of diagnosis or treatment. I spent the first part of my life not understanding why I was this way and blaming myself. Eventually, I resigned myself to my reality. This was just the way I would be. I had done it to myself, and there was no turning back. And then, a simple Google search changed everything. There was a name for this. A name. And people out there just like me who ate this way too. Knowing that ARFID exists, to me, that's a gift. That's validation. It's being able to accept that my eating habits are about as much my fault as my terrible eyesight. I didn't do this to myself. It just happened. It's going to happen anyway. And better yet, there might even be a way to fix it. Knowing that years ago would have saved my family and me years of frustration and pain. And that's why I'm here today, to show you all and help you reconsider the stigma of diagnosis. Many people don't seek diagnosis or treatment for their mental health issues because they're ashamed and afraid. They don't know who they can trust, and they're afraid of how the label and that label's reputation can impact them and their future. Many parents make the same decision for their children, not wanting to have the label follow them around for the rest of their lives. There is still very much a prevalence of the idea that mental illnesses are fixable with at-home remedies or simple determination. And though that's proven successful for some, it's a dangerous assumption for many others. None of this is new, groundbreaking information. It's actually a very common part of our conversation on mental health today. But an important part of that conversation moving forward is not just overlooking the risks of a diagnosis, but focusing on the benefits. It's scary to find out that there might be something wrong or different about you or a loved one. But isn't it scarier to feel like something's wrong and not know what? A formal diagnosis can be empowering. It proves to the individual that, yes, they have this issue, but that they aren't this issue. They didn't cause this issue. This issue is a part of them that has a scientific explanation. And better yet, this issue could maybe even be fixed. That's freeing. So if you're listening to me right now and relating, reflecting on your own experiences with food, or thinking about symptoms of a disorder that you suspect you have, let me tell you, you're not alone. And it doesn't have to be this way. Of course, not everybody has access to treatment. Not everyone wants treatment. There are so many personal, social, familial, financial, economic, locational barriers to getting treatment. Not everybody can get it. That's another talk. But that's exactly why I'm here. If you do have access to a provider to get the diagnosis you suspect you have, let me tell you, don't let fear stand in your way. Don't let stigma stand in your way. You deserve to know the truth about what's happening to you, and you're important enough to this world to recover and feel like your best self. There's another barrier to diagnosis and treatment, and that's the disorder itself. Not the symptoms, but the ripple effect they create. You see, I am not just my illness. I am not solely generalized anxiety or ARFID or skin-picking disorder. I'm a college student. I'm a musician. I'm a student advisor and a leader on campus. I'm a speech and debate coach. I'm a cat person. And yet, when you have a mental illness, it's like you're adding a little asterisk next to every other identity you have. There's rarely an instance in which your condition doesn't impact the other things you do, and so it uniquely is everywhere, infiltrating every single detail, complicating everything you care about. And so it's difficult not to see that as a part of your identity. It may not be one you like or one you want to keep, but it's there nonetheless. And so suddenly it feels like you're pitting yourself and your health against each other, and that only one can survive. Who am I without these symptoms? Who am I in a reality where I actually like food? And this isn't just ARFID either. Many people with mental illnesses have accepted their situations and don't seek change. The thought process can be very pervasive. I'm just depressed. Just let me be depressed. I'm anxious. It's just the way I am. I need to eat this way to feel good about myself. I just see the world differently. Let me be. And so the challenge becomes breaking away from how the disorder defines you, and instead seeing it as just one part of you, and one that can evolve and change. Yes, mental illness impacts the way we see the world, but that doesn't mean that our unique perceptions are better or healthy or even correct. My anxiety tells me that if I hear a thumping noise in the middle of the night, someone is breaking in and I am in terrible danger, and it's not just my cat chasing her tail near the fridge downstairs. And if my fiancé doesn't text me back for a few hours, he has died a sudden, horrible death. Or he got really busy at work. And if my roommate has been quieter and less social lately, she definitely hates me. Or she's just stressed and busy and hasn't been as social. But who's to say? Throughout our lifespans, people are constantly growing, changing, and working to identify themselves, especially people in their 20s. We are all still very much trying to figure out who we are and trying to make that person into someone we like and are proud of. The identity that comes alongside a mental illness complicates that. On one hand, it's a very distinct, unique part of you. On the other hand, it's a part of you that causes a lot of stress. How do you redefine that without losing yourself in the process? The first step, question it. Let it remain a part of your identity, but instead, in the form of something that you experience and that you have the strength to challenge. This isn't something you are, it's something you have. And though the things that you have may change who you are, they aren't more important than the other parts of you. It may seem as if I'm only up here because of ARFID, and to an extent, that's certainly true. I want to spread the word so that other people don't have to wait so long for a needed diagnosis and treatment like I did. ARFID is genuinely annoying, and I don't wish it on any of you. But as a result of my frustrating experiences, I have the ability to stand in front of you and share what we can all understand better about ARFID and other mental illnesses. Now, like I said, I'm no doctor. I'm a college student. And though I've thought about this and researched it for many years, I won't claim to be an expert on anything but my own experience. ARFID will always be a part of me. But I'm proud to share that a year after my formal diagnosis, I've gained 20 pounds, finally putting myself in a healthy BMI category. So to all the people over the years who have seen me as just weird and annoying, and to the people who said that I couldn't recover without putting aside the rest of my life, I respectfully disagree. So where do we all go from here? First, I want you all to know about ARFID. Know that it's real. Know that it affects people. And know that it's a disorder, not pickiness or stubbornness. We are the next generation of teachers, doctors, nurses, parents, adults who can help people understand themselves and get better. A little bit of awareness can go a long way, so please, remember ARFID. Take your knowledge of it with you into your career and your family, and use it to help others. Second, understand that, for the most part, what other people eat doesn't affect your life. Really, it doesn't. If somebody doesn't like something that you eat, there's more for you, and that's a good thing. And also, if you perceive someone's eating behaviors to be weird or abnormal, don't call attention to it. It could be ARFID or a wide variety of other things, but chances are you're not going to be helping them by calling it out. But if you're concerned, pull the person aside privately. The goal is to help, not to shame. Third, take care of yourself. That's a subjective and open-ended instruction, but that's okay. Just use it to remind yourself that diagnosis is stronger than stigma and that you're allowed to recover. And finally, know that it's okay to reflect on how a disorder might affect you, that it's also okay to fight it. I mean, mental illness may have an impact on your identity, and that may interfere with your recovery, but don't forget about the other things that define you too. Whatever you're passionate about, whatever you're good at, whatever inspires you, let those things inspire you more. Your mental illness may define you, but don't forget about the other things that do too. We may not live in a world where stepping on Legos is necessary for our survival, but so many people tread through this world with that stressor around them every day. Be there for them. Help them face the Legos with strength. Help them clean up the Legos. Or maybe don't leave the Legos out in the first place. Or just organize them better, try to make them less overwhelming. I don't know. In the wise words of a woman from Legally Blonde the musical, I'm not sure where this metaphor is going. I just felt like it had to be said. Thank you.